Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. I am John Swanson, and today we're going to do a live training call, and we're going to be digging into some business problems. So I implore you to listen, take some notes. These individuals that are on today's call take their business, their gym, and their fitness extremely serious, and I look forward to hearing what their most pressing questions are. So without further ado, you guys are all live and welcome to the call. So today, just for those watching, can you wave at the camera when I announce your name? We got Justin. Justin should be on. We got Shane. And we got Ryan, Daniel, and Nick. Guys, thanks first and foremost for hopping on today. I look forward to taking your questions. I'm going to kick it off first. Shane, I'm going to put you on the hot seat. What is your pressing question?
Oh, man. My pressing question is, the big thing that we're working on right now is the best avenue to get people in the door. Some of our Facebook advertising has gone a little stale, and I'm trying to look for other options as far as how we can really get the word out there to the community to help grow our membership base as we look to grow here in 2019.
Okay, so one of the big things that we use at Factory Forge, right, is the ability to identify, discuss, and solve. So the big issue is your Facebook advertising not working as well as it did, or kind of help me identify what that major issue is.
Yeah, I would say that the quality of our leads are going down, and I think over time, I think a little bit of our message has been seen by our community, and so now we're trying to come up with what does the new message look like? How are we connecting? How are we engaging? I have a feeling that some of it has to just do with branding, so not just the advertising that we're doing, but some of the unpaid posts. We're trying to step up our Instagram and Facebook game so that we can drive more engagement in general and more brand awareness. And so I'm hoping that helps generate things, but it's just our leads and our quality of leads have started to dwindle a little bit here recently.
So one of the things I always like to reiterate, number one is there's no such thing as a bad lead, right? If somebody raises their hand, perfect. Thanks, guys, for muting. Just a reminder, it'll make the call a lot easier if you guys mute if you aren't chatting. All right, we should be good. One of the things, Shane, and I think you know this already, is there's no such thing as a bad lead, right? So if somebody's got a problem and they raise their hand, and they say, "Hey, look, so what the advertising is designed to do is to bring the person in the door. It's at that point when you have the conversation with them that your job is to make a decision, are they a right fit for you? So please understand, advertising's job is not to filter whether or not they're a good member. It's to filter whether or not they have a problem and you have the solution, right? Whether or not they're going to be a good fit, that happens in that assessment phase. Now, in regards to Facebook advertising, one of the big things you have to do is you have to freshen it up. You also have to try some different things. If you're using the same copy, the same image, it's going to get stale. What I really like to do is have a blend of storytelling. So if I were to come in and architect your advertising, and hopefully you guys all write this down, here's my recommendation. I would take some testimonials, tell stories about your current members, right? Your cold prospects that don't even know about you yet are going to identify better with them than one of your ads. And what I would do is I would take that video, that 2 to 3 minute video, and I'd write a little story about them. Who are they? What was life like before? What is life like now? And what would be the advice they give to somebody sitting on the fence? Just help them tell their story. Each story is going to be different in kind, and each person you use is going to be different, right? You might have a mom of 4 that's 40 years old, and you might have a guy that's 28 years old. So different stories are then going to identify. From there, I would take that video and I would share it. I'd drive traffic to it via Facebook. I would use video views as the main driver, right? goal in Facebook, and I would get that message seen, that video seen. Now in Facebook, you know you can go in and create a custom audience. I would take that specific video or all of my videos together, I'd create a custom audience, and then Shane, I would take and say, I only want to send this advertisement to people that have watched 50% of these 2 to 3 minute videos. What you've done now is you've ensured that it's really cheap to buy video views. You guys know this. So I would save my conversion ads to only target people that are watching my videos, right? So they've been warmed up to the brand, they've been warmed up to the people that are working with us, and then I'm gonna put that conversion ad that is trying to optimize for leads targeting my video views. And you could say something like 50%, you could maybe do 75%, and you could put all your videos in. So each time you add a video, go into your audience and add that to that custom audience. So it falls in there. And now what you've done, Shane, is you've given your, right, there's roughly 5% of the audience that knows who you are, and they know you solve their problem, they know they're ready for you to solve it, right? Nick, you're fairly new to us. At some point, you knew who I was, but you didn't know either the problem or the pain that I could help you solve, right? You were in the awareness stage of I knew who John was, but I wasn't ready. If you can learn to solve that, that's where you make a lot of money, because waiting for somebody to be completely ripe is like 5% of the market. There's 95% of the market though that needs you. Go walk in any of your downtowns. People are overweight, they're unhappy, they're ready to have you coach them. They just don't know it yet. So for us, it's how do we get that message in front of them? So instead of focusing on the 5% that are ready, because they're gonna join no matter what, let's get our message in front of the people that aren't, maybe they don't even know about us yet, and start showing them all these people that are having success. Does that help, Shane?
Yeah, that helps a lot. I have a couple good nuggets I can take away from that. I think that the retargeting those videos, the audience with those videos is a big play, because you're right, they're a warmer lead at that point, and then we want to get more broad as we're driving people into kind of the interview process with us.
Yep. The first thing I want to do if I came in and ran your paid traffic is I want awareness. So I want to take all my people that are having success, I want them to tell their story, and I want to put them in front of everybody that lives in my area. The number one most important thing you need to do is ensure that everybody in your city knows who you are in the problem you solve, right? Understand who you are, your brand, in the problem you solve. That is the number one most important thing. A lot of people, if I walk into a Starbucks in town and I say, who is Fit Elite? And they can't tell me who Fit Elite is, and they can't tell me the problem it solves, that's your marketing problem. Not enough people know about you yet, right? So number one thing is make sure you get your awareness out there. Get your video views, because video views are the cheapest way to do it. Then from there, retarget with your conversion advertising. Your lead cost is going to go down. Your awareness is going to go up. And from there, you're going to go to that enrollment opportunity, the appointment. Then you decide if they're a good fit for the program. That's when you decide if they're actually a good fit as a member, not a lead. No such thing as a bad lead, only bad members. So Shane, amazing question, way to kick it off. I'm gonna go Ryan, you're gonna be next. So Shane, I'll have you hop on mute, and Ryan, you are up.
Awesome. Shane actually asked my biggest pressing question. So kind of going from there, it's how do I work? What are some of the things that allowed you to grow your transformation, your challenge audience, and move them into regular membership? I had about a 50% transition of my last group into it. What are some of the things that you learned early on that you are doing differently now that have allowed you to expend that or extend that, increase that conversion?
So one of the big things is, this is a great question. There's a couple psychological things that we need to do. First and foremost, we need to teach that this is really the on-ramp to the interstate. You know, so in St. Cloud, where I live, big Twin Cities, big brother, I use the analogy of, guys, right now you're just getting on the interstate of 94. You're not even on it yet. When you finish this program, that's where the magic happens, right? You're spending all your time just learning the basics. You're learning what real food is. You're learning how to do an air squat. You're not even able to actually apply the intensity and the consistency of the training. The real magic is, and the real transformation actually happens at roughly the 12-week to 8-month mark. That's when you just see crazy results. And so I already start to set the precedent that this program is just teaching them the fundamentals. And it's the next wave is where the real results happen. The other side of that is, so predicating that this program is not the actual long-term solution, it's a short-term fix, but with the foundation of creating the long-term solution. From there, give permission. One of the best things you can do is give people permission. You're ready. I believe you're ready. I think you're ready for the next level of coaching. I believe you're ready to go from kindergarten to first grade, to second grade, to third grade, to fourth grade, right? It's the same thing we do with you guys. Shane, at one point, you were, in what we call the enroll machine. And at certain level, there's a conversation where we say, we believe you're ready. You've mastered these skills. You know how to drive leads. You know how to, sell and enroll, and you know how to service. We believe you're ready to start working on business freedom and scale, right? So it's giving that permission. So, Ryan, one of the biggest things is people want to hear it from coach that you believe they're ready for the next phase. The other thing is right out of the gates, predicating and identifying that this is not the solution to long-term, it's the solution to get them out of pain. It's the Advil, right? But it's not going to remove the long-term headache. That's one of the best pieces of advice I can give you is, and that's something you got to beat that drum every day. Just keep beating that drum of, we're working on the short-term things to get you out of the state of pain, but the next level of our coaching program is we ensure you never go back. So here's a question I would ask the audience. How many of you guys have lost weight before, right? They're all going to raise their hand. Well, why are you here today? It's not that you don't know how to lose weight, it's you don't know how to keep it off. And there's a good chance that you've never learned the long-term habits and the skills. What we're doing right now is we're helping you lose that unwanted body fat, gain lean muscle. But what we're going to do at the next coaching program is we're going to instill that the tools become habits, right? And I talk about this in one of our trainings in Enroll Machine. The first 6 weeks or 8 weeks or however long your first initial enrollment program is, that is identifying the tools and starting to implement the tools, but the tool, just like this pen, is separate from the individual. It's in the next phase where we work with an individual for a year. So we go 8 weeks at Fast Factory into a year. I talk about the pen becomes me. It becomes, the tool becomes a habit. The habit becomes lifestyle. That's how we ensure they never revert back. And that's what people are upgrading into, is they're upgrading to ensure that they never get back in that state of pain again. Does that help? Cool. Does that answer your question?
Yep. That does answer my question.
Love it. Justin, you are up next. We got to get you off mute if you're still on. Then I might be able to. Let's do this. I can't hear you, so I'm going to skip to Daniel. When you figure out how to unmute yourself, we'll come back to you. So Daniel, you are up, sir. What is your question? Remember to unmute yourself, guys.
I'm trying.
there we go. We got Justin. So just remember, if you're on mute, you got to.
Hear me now?
Yep. So let's go this. Justin, we'll go you right now, and then we'll go Daniel next. Yeah. Nick, you're going to be last.
My screen must be slow because it still says I'm muted. Yeah. My first question, I guess, is going to be dealing with coaching and how to. I'm in a position now where I'm looking to hire on my first full-time coach, and I'm kind of, I think I'm maybe about 10 to 15 members away, and I just kind of want to know what your best advice is once I bring on somebody as a full-time? Is there a perfect timing for it? And then when I do, is it something I should mainly look in-house to try to bring somebody up, or is it best to kind of bring someone in from outside of our gym? So I guess any insight on dealing with moving into that next level, where I remove myself from coaching 80% of the classes and kind of hand that off to someone else so I can focus on the other areas.
Yep. So a couple different questions in there, and I'll try to identify them and tease the answers out. The first answer I would give you is one that you're going to laugh at and say, well, obviously, but I actually hired my first coaches the same day I opened my gym. So I actually had 2 people come on as interns the first day I opened. And I remember people asked me, like, you're nuts. Like, you don't even have a membership yet. But I knew where I was going, and I knew I was going to need individuals. Right now, Factory Forge is onboarding, I think it's 3 or 4 coaches. They maybe don't even know it yet, but they're starting to go through this internship program because I know where Factory Forge is going, and I know that we're going to need them when we need them. So one of the most important, and Shane, you actually taught me this from a mentor of yours, the most important thing you can do in your business is have the next up mentality. Have that person waiting in the wings that can step in when you're ready and they're ready to go. Where businesses struggle in the second stage of business, which is scale, is that they have somebody maybe step away or there's a need for that person, but then there's this delay, this gap, and it's waiting for that person to acquire the skills. And what's going to happen is it's going to create tons of friction with the membership base because they're getting a not as even level of a coach, right? So the old analogy is you should be working on this now, right? So one of the big things that I teach, and I teach it in the Ascension Ladder. If you guys haven't watched that video, it's about an hour-long training. It is really, really good. It teaches you how to build your front side Ascension Ladder. So your enrollment program, again, if you want to call it a challenge, you want to do one-on-one, I don't really care, but something between 6 and 12 weeks. Then you move them into roughly a 1-year membership, and then you move them into probably the next 1-year membership, and then there's kind of that ambassador program. Well, what I would then recommend is you actually take people, and I wish I had a board I could draw this up for you, but that video does a really good job at explaining it. Take your ambassadors, your best members, not your fittest, but the people that most embody the core values and what it means to be a coach, right? So safety, they're relentless, they're empathetic, people that really you think are going to be great humans to carry on the brand. They don't have to be the fittest. Very important. And what you want to do is you want to bring them in and almost create an internship. So the way we do it is we go workshop where we kind of talk about what it means to be a coach and a little less of what it means to be a coach and like a little bit of like the deeper understanding of like maybe CrossFit 101 blended into your brand. So there's things that you have maybe removed or added, and that methodology needs to be taught. From there, it's those individuals that can apply for an internship. Internship might be just shadowing and watching the classes and kind of spending time there. From there, we actually interview them. And we look at core values, we look at their knowledge base, and then we'll, if they pass the internship and they pass the interview, we'll actually start them as an assistant coach. Assistant has nothing to do with the amount of time or hours they coach, it has to do with the role on the floor. So an assistant coach, if Shane and I are coaching class, and I'm the assistant, Shane's up front leading it, he's the flow, I'm working the room to make those like one-on-one micro changes. Right? If you guys watch a CrossFit level 1, you instantly know who the flow master is, right? And then there's all the assistants. So we put somebody on the floor as an assistant for roughly 3 to 6 months. It kind of depends on how long they need to be there. And then they test into what we'll call a coach. So you can see I'm building a ladder on the backside. That's why we call it the front side and the backside ascension ladder. My best members go into a workshop, which turns into an internship, which turns into an assistant coach, which eventually goes to coach. And then my highest level coaches are doing PT, they're doing group class, they're doing nutrition coaching, which is already bundled in. They're doing all the lifestyle coaching, they're managing the roster. So we built a ladder. You might say, well, John, I don't have time to do that. I need a coach tomorrow. I get that. So here's my advice. When you hire, you take a strong look at how soon you need this person up to speed. I could probably step in and coach at your gym tomorrow with a little bit of advisement from you. That's a decision you have to make. So you asked me a question of, well, John, Do I hire outside or within? Well, it depends on when you need them. If you got 6 months to wait, or you got 4 months to wait, I would go from within because they understand the core values. There's a better chance that they're going to be a better long-term fit. But if it's short-term and you need somebody like tomorrow because you're growing fast, and you don't have anybody that's done their level 1, they have no coaching experience, you're probably going, you're probably looking externally. So my last 3 hires have been people that have moved from essentially out of state. One from North Dakota, one from Missouri, and then one came from another gym, non-internal. But we're going to, now we don't need coaches right now, so we're going to relaunch the internship program. Let me correct myself. Out of my last 5 coaches, the first 3 were out of state, my last 2 were in-house. And then I'm gonna launch my internship program again, and I'll start that ascension ladder. Does that help? Because I'm trying to give you the long-term solution and also the short-term fix.
Yeah, that helps. Of my coaches, the 3 that I have now, 2 of them have full-time jobs, and so really I'm looking at kind of the other one is kind of bringing up into that. And I have about a 2-month period before I think I would have to like really fully go at it. And I think he would be a good candidate for it. I just didn't know if it's something that it would, best to be an outside or an inside. And then I guess to kind of piggyback on that, when I do bring someone in, is there a better way to do it where I should give them a salary and commissions, or to keep them on as just hours for the times that they're helping? I'm leaning towards more just waiting until I can provide them a salary and commission as opposed to the other way. But I don't know if there's a best fit, or is it a case-by-case scenario?
This is really what we dig into in business mastery. I think Shane can attest to that. The questions you're asking take years to get right. So one of the most important things I can tell you to do is have roles and responsibilities. There's a good chance that all of your coaches aren't working one job for you. They're working 4 jobs put together that creates that salary. What you need to do is you need to break apart each one of the different like blocks and have roles and responsibilities in the pay. That makes up their salary. So as an example, if you're a full-time coach for us, you might be coaching, say 15 hours a week. That puts you at 60 hours a month. And the pay variance there is somewhere between $25 and $35 per class for us, okay? But that doesn't, you can do the math. Most of my coaches are making a base of roughly 40K. That doesn't make 40K. So that's one job. Now they have another job. There's a pay and an hourly rate, and here's how many hours per week, and then here's their next block, and here's their next block. From there, that creates their block schedule of how they spend their time. That's very important, because when you just hire somebody and say, here's your base salary, here's your incentives, it's not defined of how they're supposed to spend their time. And so like they just coach class, and then you become disgruntled and be like, oh, there's all these other things that should be done. And they're like, well, I'm a coach. Do you see that? That's one of the things that Chris really digs into, and he does a fantastic job in mastery. But just giving you a little bit of advice is you got to have, number 1, your org chart, number 2, your roles and responsibilities done before you can even hire. So one of the role and responsibility, we gave it to you guys, is the coaching evaluation. That is exactly what is meant to be for a coach on the floor, right? And then you got to come up with your pay grade, okay? If you coach class, we have different pay levels for what we'll call a coach, not an assistant coach. Assistant coach is like $18, maybe 15, but maybe you start them at 20. And then you say, after so many hours, you can test into this. And so you have a ladder that they can grow there. And they're like, but I want to work full-time. Well, you can't work more than 15 classes. I mean, Shane, when you came to us, how many hours on the floor were you working?
Oh, man, I was somewhere between 20 to 25, and Dave was close to 40. My business partner was close to 40.
And that was the first thing we did in their company, was we got them off the floor, because we know that all coaches will burn out at a certain point. Like if we want to create, I have one of my coaches that's been with us for 8 years. She only is allowed to coach 15 hours on the floor. But what we've done is there's tons of amazing actions that need to happen, right? There's all this client service that we talk about. We call it off-the-floor coaching. So she's doing goals meetings, she's doing nutrition, because it's all bundled in the membership. So she might coach 15 hours, and that pay grade for her is $35. And I'm just trying to help you. And please understand, your numbers and my numbers don't have to be the same. But if she works, 15 hours a week at 35 a class, that's only $2,100. No mom can put food on her table, pay rent, put her daughter in gymnastics, and put money away and pay, all these other things. We have to get their base salary up. Well, there's a bunch of other things that I know are very important. One of them being is the off the floor coaching. So what I do is, roughly 2 to 3 hours a week or a day, she's doing emails, goals meetings, nutrition. She's doing onboarding. So now, her 15 hours is up to 20 hours. And then you start to build the job out like Legos. But the key is to make sure each Lego has a distinct different color, and it's got a roles and responsibility, and it's got a pay per hour. So there's no such thing as actually a salary. You bundle them together, and that's what creates their salary. Here's the fun part about that. If they botch one of the roles, when you go to pull it out, you're just pulling that thing out. So say somebody is really bad at cleaning, and that was part of their bundle. Well, when you pull it out, it's like, okay, you lost $300 out of your paycheck, and we took this block off your time block. We took this Lego away. And then you say, well, what things are you really good at? What things do you like and love? All right, let's, you really want to run a running workshop, and you want to run this, or you want to do youth training. Now you put the new Lego in, different role and responsibility, pay grade for it, and that's how we build out the pay structure. Is that guys? Hopefully that brought value to all of you guys that are starting to build out your teams of how to think about it. I think people get in tremendous trouble when they just slap a salary on, and then they get disgruntled because their coaches coach a handful of classes, and then they're working out all the time. They're not cleaning the gym. They're not doing anything else. And in your brain, you're like, well, of course this stuff has to get done. But what you never understood is, just like Nick's wearing a hat, he probably has more than one. You as an owner were constantly changing hats. And you have to show them all the different hats that come into that bundle, the different Legos, so they can identify. It'll also help you understand how to prioritize their time throughout the day to make sure they're getting each of the things that are critical to move the business along. So, we good? Love it. I'm gonna have you hop on mute. Daniel, you're up next. Nick, you're on deck. Remember to unmute yourself. Daniel, I cannot hear you, so I apologize. I don't know if any of you guys can hear him as well. And if not, you can always type up your question in the chat, and then I can take it from there. Nick, I'm going to put you on the hot seat. And then Daniel, like I said, if you have to, type it in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer the question. Nick, you're going to go up.
Can you guys hear me, or am I still muted?
No, we're good.
Okay. My question, like you already mentioned, I've just been starting off about a week ago now, and things are going good with leads and consults and booking. But my question would be with rebranding. I've been kicking it around for a while, and just trying to pick your guys' brains on what is the best method of rebranding. Obviously, I want to continue to offer CrossFit because that's one of the core values that we believe in and that I believe in, but also trying to rebrand appropriately to reach more of the market in the area, and maybe the best practices about going and doing that, and maybe some pros and cons to it, and things that you've learned that will help, and things to stay away from.
Yeah, I can honestly say that every client that we've worked with at the highest level, one of the things that we've highly recommended was to go through a rebrand, which it's a little bit painful. Fast Factory went from CrossFit Fast Factory to simply Fast Factory. one of the big things that I always recommend, and I've spoke on it in depth, and I truly believe it, I love CrossFit. I mean, if you look at everything of how my life is shaped, I truly appreciate what CrossFit is, but I also understand that in my business, it's a tool and it's a methodology I believe in, but we are not a CrossFit gym. We are Fast Factory, and we're a coaching company. And when I look at the pot of gumbo that I'm making, I sprinkle a little bit of functional fitness in there. I sprinkle lifestyle coaching in there. I throw in some real food. I throw in macros. I throw in mobility, right? I built this pot, and that pot is our coaching program. So for us, if somebody says, hey, John, who are you and what do you do? I say, we are Fast Factory. We're a personal coaching company that helps people remove their obstacles and reach results in specifically fat loss. We help people lose weight, gain confidence, and live a life that provides happiness. That's what we do. So, I mean, I really look at what Fast Factory's coaching is and does. 50% of it is not on the floor. And so, Nick, the biggest thing I could tell you to do is, number one is identify who you want to serve. What is the end result that you want to do? From there, this is one of my new trainings I just did for you guys. It might be Niche 2.0. I take you through the exercise of understanding who is it you serve, how do you want to serve them. And for me, I love just saying we're a coaching company because I feel like our marketing and all those things are going to show that we believe in functional movements, we believe in real food, but ultimately what they're getting from us is they're getting a coach to help them reach their goals. So I even looked at, we added the word fitness to our brand. Most likely we will drop fitness. Even our URL is just the Fast Factory. And I love really being a coaching company because now nobody can copy you, right? Because it's your brand. Versus as soon as you attach a white labeled verb or noun or whatever you want to say next to your brand, people can attach that to theirs and you start to look like them. I don't want to look like anybody else. I want to be Fast Factory. So for you, like I think Fit Elite is awesome. Chris, I remember doing this with Thorndike. And he fought me on it, but he went to Live Athletic. And I was like, I hate you because I actually love your name. Live Athletic. What an amazing brand name, right? And from there, they're a coaching company. What do? They have group fitness classes. They have assessments. They have nutrition coaching. They have in-bodies. But the whole program becomes one thing, and it's a process that they go through. Just like Factory Forge. We're a process. You don't buy like elements of the coaching. No, we know that the number one problem in business to start off with is you don't know how to run a profitable business. So we solve it by solving the marketing problem. We solve lead generation. We solve sales, and we solve retention. That's our enrollment program, just like the gyms have. So that would be my advice to you is identify who you want to serve. Make sure you're branding your Facebook headers, all that stuff. Like CrossFit.com just did an amazing job. If you go to their Facebook page, there's an overweight woman doing some type of either overhead press or a thruster. That is like spot on with who their brand is for CrossFit.com, right? They're finally figuring it out that their branding needs to embody who their culture is, which is average people. So that would be the name is actually probably not the really important part. It's the branding that comes around it. And branding is everything from the cleanliness of your gym to your colors. Like you have a past competitive history. Is that who you serve though? And that's one of the big things I would challenge you is don't let who you are change what your company is trying to serve. Like I was a past professional hockey player, but if you walk into my gym, it's designed around moms and dads. From a brand, it's very clean. It's what they would like and what would attract them, not necessarily like what my personal taste is. Even though I like most of it. Does that help? From like I'm talking paint colors to branding to your Facebook imagery to your name, and then what I would do is your website needs to embody your coaching program. It needs to showcase that you have a strong depth and knowledge of the pain that your prospects are having, and that you solve that problem. And then you have your case studies. if that makes sense. You'll see the new Factory Forge website come out in probably a week or two, and it'll be a really good example of like, we just talk about, entrepreneurs and affiliate owners having the specific pain, and then we showcase a bunch of people that aren't in that pain state anymore. But we're not pinning ourselves in one little spot. Maybe I said a lot and actually helped you none, but I'm kind of curious where your head's at.
Yeah, I mean, I opened up just a little over 6 years ago, and I mean, I'm still very competitive personally, but the point where I was programming and coaching how I would want to be programmed and coached for. And then about a year ago or 2 years ago, I made the change to, okay, we got to make these classes a little bit more accessible for everybody. And when I did that, my business grew. My membership almost doubled in like 12 months. And so I know that was the right move to make. Now it's just going forward. And, when I do my consults, I still, everyone in the community or, anyone that's heard about CrossFit, their first question is, do I have to be this great athlete to start the program? And trying to get them to understand, just because that's what our sign says, CrossFit, it's more than that. And so just trying to get my brand to meet up with that now is kind of the crossroads that I'm at, where I need to take that next step and make that align with more what we actually do now versus what we did 6 years ago.
Who is it that you serve? Like, who's your ideal client? Like, if you could fill your gym with them.
My ideal clients right now are the mid-20s to early 40s moms and dads with kids that just want to come work out in a fun environment and, get after it for an hour a day, versus, it used to be geared towards athletes that want to compete in CrossFit, and now it's not like that at all.
Okay, so I'm going to just take some notes here. All right, so I'm going to kind of walk you through an exercise as if I was doing this in real time for your business. So we're looking at roughly 28 to 45-year-olds, and one of the characteristics is they're kind of settled. They maybe have started a family, or they're thinking about starting a family, and so we categorize that as mothers and fathers. What is the pain that they're currently experiencing right now? We're talking about people that are not at your gym now. Like the people that are in your city, what is the pain that they're feeling? It's not happy when they look in the mirror. They don't feel like they have the energy anymore. They don't feel strong. Like, what are those pain points?
I think in this community, especially, and as I look around whenever I'm out in public, there's just, and I'm sure it's everywhere, but just a ton of, overweight people that are unhealthy and, visibly sick, and, just wanting to help them to get control of it, both on, obviously the nutrition side, but explaining to them that, they can come to my gym and jump right into our program and not feel like they have to be at this certain level of fitness in order to even come in the door.
Yep. I'm going to open this up to all of you guys here. What are some other, as we walk through this exercise, I think this is great to do actually with all of you. So we're taking 28 to 45-year-olds. We're looking at mothers and fathers. And what I really want to hone in, Nick, is actually on the pain. I don't want to even think about how you're going to solve it. That's where gym owners that's where we jump into naturally. If we can really hone in on the pain, your marketing, your ad copy, you'll become very strong, because it'll like, man, I felt like you were speaking to me. So guys, what are some other pains that moms and dads have? I wrote down no energy. I wrote down not confident, scared to be in a bathing suit.
One we get a lot with moms is kind of lost who they were before having children. That one's worked really well for us. Like, do not see the person that you used to be, and they want that back. The other one
lost
is,
identity and lost control.
Well, not control, but like lost who they were. Like,
okay,
this is who I was, and now I've become a mom, and I'm doing all these things, and I've lost who I am. And so they're looking for that. The other thing is, the big thing is time, and parents having guilt about taking time away from their own personal fitness to away from what they think they're taking away from their kids' time.
Okay, love it. Anybody else? I'd love to hear this. I think this is great. And then Daniel, I'm going to get to your question next. This is how you guys learn to write really strong copy. And one of the best things I can tell you is sit down with actually some of your members as well, like your dream members, and ask these questions. Like, before you joined the gym, what type of pain were you experiencing? Not just physical, but emotional pain. So like you'll hear people say, I don't want to go on vacation because I don't want to get in a bathing suit. And it's like, wow, that's robbing you from, being, on an awesome trip with your spouse and getting to create memories, right? Like, that's a significant pain that's affecting their life. Pain would be, I don't want to be in photos. Anybody else got any pain points?
Not really. Those are kind of the usual ones.
Perfect. So now the next step, what we do is we call, pain state. This is the island they live on right now. So Nick, everybody in your city that's not a member of you and not receiving your amazing coaching is living on this island. Where do they want to go, right? So for us that live in the Midwest, where do we want to go? Someplace warm, right? Because we're sick of the cold, we're sick of the snow. We want to be someplace warm. So we book that trip. We want to look at where the desired is. Where did the future self want to go? So a lot of these are the opposite, right? So they want to have energy. They want to be confident in the mirror, in their own skin. They don't want to be scared to be in a bathing suit. They want to be, they feel good about it. They want to have their own identity. They want to stand out from who they are, right? It's a lot of times it's the opposite. Can you guys think of anything else that they would want? So from there, when you do the exercise, you basically T-chart, and that's what I'm doing right here. Is I'm creating a T-chart. I wrote down pain on the left side, and I wrote desires, and a lot of times they're the opposite, but they could be a little bit different. And then from there, the gap, that bridge. And again, I wish I could draw this out for you guys, but imagine, one side of the screen is pain, and on the other side is desire. This bridge, that's your program. That's how you get somebody there. That's how you get somebody results. Here's your competitive advantage. 99% of your competitors are not taking people from a state of pain and actually delivering them to where they want to go in roughly 6 to 8 weeks. That's why I believe fat loss, if you can really hone in on that, most people are in a state of, they're fat, they're walking around unhealthy, and they're experiencing all these pains, and what they want to do is they want to lose fat, they want to gain confidence, they want to regain their self-identity, they want to do it in a sustainable, non-restrictive way. If you can help and showcase that you have a proven concept, now that's your program, that's your 6 to 8 week, 12-week program, and now you got your message, right? So you say things like this. Nick would say, I help mom and dads lose fat, gain muscle, but most importantly, I help them improve their energy so they have energy to play with their kids when they get home from work. I help them boost their confidence and start loving who they are inside their own skin. I help them have the confidence to not only go on a vacation, but to rock a bathing suit in front of everybody. And on top of it, they have their own self-identity. Their kids are not overtaking their life, but they are their own person that they were born with. And I do that by working with you on your fitness, your nutrition, your lifestyle, and I have a proven program that in 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever your length is will help you lose 20 pounds. And on top of it, you're going to receive all these benefits, and then relist them: more energy, more confidence, ready to rock your bathing suit on your spring chip. And on top of that, you're going to have your own self-identity. You are going to be, creating balance in life to take care of yourself and your family. And that's how we create copy that resonates. That's one of the big beefs that I've had with us handing copy over to you guys, is that there is a shot that your niche doesn't match up with us, right? Like that message I wrote, I know will work in the Midwest because I live in the Midwest, but it may not work in California, it may not work in Florida. But when you understand who your niche is, you understand pain state, you understand desired state, and then your program is the bridge, how you deliver them. When you put that message out in front of them, and then on top of it, like we do what we did with Shane, you take those videos and you showcase testimonial, retarget with a piece of ad copy like this, That's how we drive ad copy down. So we had a question about branding. Your branding needs to embody the people you serve, not you. That's what it needs to be about. And I would tell you, take a look at people like Lady Boss out there. She's got a really, really strong brand. But she talks, she's in a same consulting group that I'm in. She talks about when it was just her name, her group was actually very weak. But then when she made it Lady Boss, it grew an identity. You look at Granite Games, one of the things we just did last year was we wrote that athlete creed, right? And that was meant to embody the culture, right? And so this is kind of getting into the next question. We had to write, like, who do we identify as? And then the branding had to take that on. So if you look at Granite Games branding, do we showcase a lot of elite athletes? No, because that's not who we're not the CrossFit Games. We're average people that on a weekend like to compete. But then we go back and we're a nurse, we're moms and dads, and we're average people, right? Like, Nick, you're one of the fittest people to compete at the Granite Games, but you're not the lion's share of who does the Granite Games. It's scaled athletes, it's intermediate athletes. So that would be my advice. Is I would actually drop CrossFit from your name and I would make it your personal brand. And then what I would start to understand is that CrossFit functional movements are part of your methodology. It's part of your recipe. But you're not a CrossFit gym. You're not even a gym. You're a coaching company, because you coach people through email, through live coaching calls, through goals meetings, through nutrition consults. It's this entire sweeping package that your competitors cannot compete with, and that's your competitive advantage. When everybody else is trying to be fitness, be something different. Sam Walton of Walmart, I just finished his book yesterday, and he talks about when we come into a town, when Gold's Gym comes into town, the best thing you can do is you niche down. He goes, those are the people that kick our butts. He goes, there's paint stores, there's auto mechanics, there's all these people that if they understand what their niche is, they will kill us. But if they try to compete with us on our level, we'll crush them. And that's my thing. I'm not trying to compete with my competitors in my global gym. No, I'm trying to become a coaching company that solves one specific problem. I help moms and dads no longer be fat, but more importantly, gain confidence, gain energy, all those things that we listed. So that is the long-winded answer of, like, how do you rebrand? Really hone in on who you serve, create a brand that embodies that, create a color palette that embodies that, create a gym or a coaching facility that embodies that. If you're working with moms and dads, do you think they want to go into a dark, grungy gym? Like, it needs to have a level of clean. Like, I think my gym personally has got the right blend. It's nice, but it's also very, we got raw concrete walls. It's got that blend of, like, industrial, but also professional. And I have never actually seen photos of your gym, so I'm not saying it is or isn't. Please don't take it out of context. Does that help from a branding side?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it kind of gave me some new ways to look at it, and then, reaffirmed some of the things that I was already thinking. And so, gives me more to work on there as I take it into consideration.
Love it. Great question, by the way. Daniel, you said, how do we change culture in classes? We had a strong community base for a while, and then it fell off and became more competitive. Wanting to get back to being more of a community base and get people involved with one another and not stuck in cliques and inside or outside the gym, which is a very strong one. One of the things that we've done, I shared in the new course, and it's in the training. One, I always recommend having a state of union, and I call it state of the factory. Just call it state of whatever your brand is, state of Fit Elite, once a year. And it's an opportunity to talk about where you guys have been, where you guys are going as a group. And in that meeting, I always identify there's 3 roles, and I think this is important that you guys should all be doing this. There's 3 actual roles. There's the membership, there's the coaches, and then there's the ownership group. And I say, look, my job is not to sit as a coach, and it's not to sit as a member. It's actually to zoom out and do what's best for the membership, the coaches, and the brand. And when I have that as a focal point, my job is to help steer us in the right direction. That's where I also let them know, you may not like every decision I make, just like my coaches will not like every decision I make. But our job as a group is to make decisions that's going to allow us to continue to change people's lives for the test of time. Because if I made decisions that only my members liked, gym would be free, coaching would be free. But I know I can't pay my coaches, right? So I teach them the balancing act, the juggling act that the owner has to do. And I teach them how to respect that. From there, I also introduce the athlete creed, and I introduce the coach's creed. And I say, here's the expectations from a coach. I want you guys to know it. I know it, they know it, and now you know it. I also, here's the expectations from a member. You know it, I know it, and they know it. And I teach them that they will police each other, that I have an open door policy, and that if a member feels that a coach is not living up to the creed, sit down. Because I don't represent the coaches, I represent the brand. And a coach knows that if a member is not embodying the creed, come sit down, we'll have a conversation. And so just like, that's how we nip those things in the bud really, really quickly. And I'm trying to find on my desktop right now, if I can find the screenshot, one of many screenshots I take. I have that coach's creed somewhere. And if I can't, I don't think I can find it right now, I will share it with you. But it's a list of 5 rules that members abide by. Be coachable, be on time, value the knowledge. One of them is, do no harm to the community, right? Clicks do harm to the community. So we built in rules, and we bust them up. To this day, I can honestly say we've had our fires like everybody else, but we've never had clicks get way out of control. And it's the same thing I try to do. Actually, I just found it. There we go. Here it is, athlete creed. Give me 2 seconds here. I might be able to, if I know how to work this thing. Can you guys see that athlete creed? I can't see your faces, so give me a nod.
No.
I don't see it, no.
I don't see anything.
The people that are in the live stream can see it, so which doesn't do us any good. What I'll do is I'll read you it real quick and let the people that are watching the live stream, they can look at it. So athlete creed on the left, it says, at the Fast Factory, all athletes must have SMART goals is the first one. Be coachable is the second one. Be willing to invest their time and energy. Value the knowledge of your coaches provide, and be willing to work with others in the Fast Factory community. Coaches creed. At Fast Factory, all coaches must run safe, organized, and structured classes. Be empathetic. Be timely. Apply your knowledge to each athlete. Encourage, motivate, and inspire. Uphold all business standards and rules. And at the bottom it says, together we can build a strong community by holding each other accountable. And that's really how we've kind of nipped all that in the bud, is that we came out right out of the gates, not on 2011, but over time, every year, that's part of an indoctrination process, but I also remind them every year of those rules. And it's part of what we'll call that dream client, that if somebody's not acting in that way, I'll sit down with them and show them, here's the expectations to eat at my restaurant. Here's what I expect from my coaches, and here's what I expect from my members. And right now, I don't feel like you're living up to that expectation. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to change some behaviors. If you don't want to, that's fine, but then we're going to find maybe a better fit for you. And I will fire members. I had a member tell one of my coaches to go get effed, and that was not there was no strikes. It was like, you're not part of the culture, you're not part of our DNA. The thing that overlaps on all of that is our core values then. So we have our coaches creed, our athletes creed, and then we have our core values. Our core values, we just rewrote them. They're 3 words, and it says PRO. Present, relentless, and opportunistic. Be a good human, all that stuff goes without being said. So like if you're just not a good human, if you're not including people, if you're not high-fiving people at the end of class, you're not being a part of the community, like that, some of that stuff falls in the athlete creed, but those are our core values. One of the exercises, I know Shane's done this because he's in Mastery, one of the first things we do in Mastery is we go really slow. right? We go really slow with the business. We actually start with write your core values out, because we know that every person you have to hire, Justin, has to have your core values, or they will not be a long-term fit. There'll always be friction, right? I've had great coaches here, but they didn't match my core values. See ya. Because you have to be, you can be a great coach, but if you don't get like how we do things and the expectations, it will never work. So from a cultural side, have your core values established, have your athlete creed and standards established, and have your coaches' standards established, and let people know it is an honor to be a member of this. And we will remove you if you can't, because you have thousands of people that need your help. You only want to work with your very best, and that includes the same thing with your coaches. There's people out there that would love to come coach in your coaching program. So you set the standard, and what I always do is when you're brand new to this concept, I give people a longer leash. 1 strike, 2 strike, and then 3 strikes, you're out. But if it's something that is detrimental and is harmful, 1 strike, you're out. You're just gone. There's no second chances. Like if it was malicious. And that's how I've steered culture in the Granite Games, how I steer culture in Factory Forge, and how I've done it in my gym, is create those standards. You know, like the athlete creed. I place no blame is one of our things in the Granite Games. If you're an athlete that whines, see ya. Like if you're an athlete that complains about your judge, they're humans. They make mistakes. We all do. We're amateurs, all of us. None of us are professional athletes, right? Like, so by writing out those expectations, just like Justin, I was talking to you, got to have the expectations for the job roles. That sets you up for success. It sets you up for success. It's now your job to lead and manage those expectations. And from there you have accountability, right? So one of the things we teach in Mastery is LMA, lead, manage, and hold others accountable. You got to first lead through having expectations and then manage those expectations in the standard. From there, you'll create your accountability. And that, what I'm talking about, that will help you steer your coaches, your executive team, and your members. So really great question. We got time for maybe one more question. I set up really 60 minutes. I don't want to go over here. Who's got like one question that is pressing, that they really want to ask it? And let's have that be the last question we'll ask. Nobody be shy, or I'm going to pick on one of you guys. Ryan, let's go with you.
Well, I'm just trying to digest like the last 2 bits of the pain, state, desire. Most of where I'm at has been addressed with these last 2 pieces with the gym creed, because we just are kind of moving away from that idea of a CrossFit message as well. Wow. Trying to think of some of the stuff that I've been going through in an enrollment machine, and I guess let's go back to maybe dream states and stuff. How much in our ads do you go through and talk about, just focus on just a pain state in terms of trying to create that and then hold the dream state solution afterwards? I'm sorry if I'm not making much sense. I've been kind of...
Yeah, I think I get it.
Okay.
So one of the things that you want to do when you work on this exercise of pain state and dream state is you want to separate the islands as far as you can, right? So let's do an exercise that we all understand. Let's all become gym owners. Are you exhausted? And this is me just like riffing off the top of my head, but I'm just going to think about all the things I went through. Are you exhausted? You have no members joining your gym. You're not taking a paycheck, and you haven't seen your kids, yet alone took your wife out on a date in the last year or 2. And now you're starting to wonder, what is this all for? Your members don't appreciate you, and you're starting to really feel burnt out. Hey, I get it. My name's John Swanson, and I was there once. I remember 2011 when I almost went bankrupt because I had to shut my doors because I didn't know how to get members in my door. I was the only coach. I was coaching all the classes, working 80-hour week, and my girlfriend was ready to break up with me. I was there. But guess what? You don't have to stay there. There's another opportunity. There's the ability to build a business that is not only profitable, changes people's lives, but also affords you the ability to also live your own life. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today, is that opportunity. And I just made that up. But it's very easy for me to talk about it because I'm a gym owner. And it's really easy because everything I just said was like my life. Like my girlfriend probably was ready to break up with me. I was wondering why I was doing this. I was working 80 hours a week. My members weren't appreciating me. Like all the bad things that could happen were happening to me. And I was ready to shut my gym down. Shane's probably heard me tell the story a handful of times. And then I changed things and I said, enough's enough. Like I can't keep doing it. Like I'm going to be done. So one of the best things I can tell you is that, Nick, my advice to you is you need to become a 33-year-old dad that's not fit and doesn't compete in CrossFit. Like you need to think like him. And then you need to become a 40-year-old mom. Like you need to get in her shoes, put on her jeans, live her life. Because that will teach you what their pain is. And if you can't become them, you need to sit down and have conversations with them. The hard part, though, is they're not always going to open up to you. But that's where you either ask like girlfriends or, parents, or you ask wives, you ask other female members. But you got to get in their shoes. From there, drive the wedge between the two. And show that it is possible, but it's going to take work. And that's where you come in. You have the proven process. Like, hey, have you tried to get new members in the door? Right. So now I'm going to go back and drive the wedge of the two islands. Like, look, you've tried to do it, but you failed. You tried to hire coaches, but they didn't coach like you. You tried to get members that, appreciated you. So you want to separate the islands, because if you make the islands really close and they think they can jump across, they're not going to need you. And the truth is they're also going to fail. Because if the islands were actually freaking close, they would just do it, but they're not. You have that bridge. You have that proven process. That's what the enrollment machine, why it's so important to have a 6-week to a 12-week program, is because you're solving the first major pain. You're moving them to that first island. Does that make sense? Right. So as an example, living in Minnesota.
That makes sense. I like that island philosophy.
Living in Minnesota, to get rid of my pain, I go to Aruba. Just got back. But to make sure that doesn't happen again, some travel agency could book me a trip every year, like clockwork. And that would, so I'm using the example of like pain one is it's cold and I want to get the hell out of here, take my trip. But now that secondary, we call it core coaching program, is they could get me on an auto renew vacation. Same concept. Like first pain, help people lose fat. Next coaching program, make sure they never put the fat on again. Chiropractor, they get in a car accident, get them out of that initial pain, but now put them on a maintenance program long-term so they never get back in pain again, right? That's core coaching program versus initial program. Initial program always removes pain. Core coaching program takes tools, turns them into habit, creates a lifestyle so they never revert back. Dude, everybody that's ever come to your gyms tried a diet, they've tried some shake, they've tried working out. Your competitive advantage is actually the core coaching program long-term that makes sure they never go back. It's your initial program, though, that all the CrossFit gym owners out there that cannot enroll people, they're trying to sell the core program, the maintenance program. But it doesn't solve the initial program, and it doesn't speak the language. And this is the most important part I can teach you guys. It doesn't speak the language that the prospect wants to hear, knows, and understands. So when you use words like, how many of you guys want to be considered a fat loss coach? None of us. But that's a language they understand. They understand fat loss. I mean, I fought that for like 8 years. I was like, I've coached professional athletes. I've coached Division I athletes. Like, but then when I started writing copy and understanding my prospects' pain and using the language they understood, then it made sense. Like, how many of you guys want to talk about core values and mission statements and org charts, Justin, and roles and responsibilities? Imagine if I would have sold you that. You'd have been like, I'm out. I don't want to do that. But if I talk to you about like, hey, how would you like to, be taking a paycheck of $10K a month, have a vacation scheduled, going home at 5 o'clock. You're like, yeah, I'll sign up for that. I'm like, awesome. Here's the recipe. Let's start with your mission statement. Let's start with your core values. Let's get your org chart done. Let's start with roles and responsibilities for coaches so you can hire. That's what the enrollment machine is predicated on. It's predicated that you guys all wanted money. And so what do? Is we get you money. But we know a long-term solution. I hate to say it, it's go slow. Org chart, roles and responsibilities, management systems. That's how you scale the company. You know, and Shane, you've been with us for how many years?
4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and so for them, if I'm not going to give his whole business away, but like we've actually been able to grow. We've done two things I think extremely well with his company. We grew his revenues, but more importantly, we got his time back so he could be a dad, so he could take his kids to hockey, so he could, you know, go to a concert with me and we could have fun. But you got to have cash first so you can pay your people, and before you can hire people, you got to have the systems. So it goes cash flow, systems, hire, manage, freedom. And that's the long-term track. When we work with a client, it's roughly 2 years. Shane stays with us. He doesn't need us. He stays with us because he likes the culture of the community, and he still knows that problems are going to arise, and he needs a mentor. He needs a coach. He needs an outside perspective. All three of my companies, I have separate business coaches for. All of my companies that I own, I have a business coach for because I need an outside perspective. So, Ryan, that was a very long-winded drive the islands apart, really drive home the pain state and the fact that you either understand it or, like, you know, for you, Nick, like, you're a super fit guy. I hate to say it, you're not going to resonate with a 40-year-old mom. So what you can do then is grab a woman in your gym that you've had success with, and you pull them up next to you when you're writing your copy, and she stands next to you and she nods her head and she's like, yes, working with Nick has changed my life. Now you're going to create the ability to correlate with them. So for me, I can resonate with dads, but if I want to pull a female and have it resonate there, I'm either going to use my female coaches, my wife, or I'm going to take a client and allow them to tell their story, but create the connection to us, the brand. That is going to allow me to showcase that I have a strong understanding of their pain state. I also have a strong understanding of their dream state. And then it's how we get there. Well, I get there by helping you lose 20 pounds in 6 weeks. I have a proven process where I coach you in person through fitness and online through accountability. And on top of that, I implement a restrictive, easy to follow nutrition program that my 14-year-old daughter does. And that's how we drive islands apart, but showcase we have a bridge that can get them there. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up. We went a little bit long. I appreciate you guys giving me your time. First and foremost, it means the world to me that you guys are willing to hop on and ask your questions and kind of open up your hearts and souls and bear some of the things you're struggling with. So amazing job. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you guys in our group page, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right,
Yep.
Thanks. Nice meeting you guys.
Yep.
Hey, guys.
Thanks, guys.